and welcome to another video. It's OT19 Overton Gamer 19,000, and I'm here today to present to you all my first ever Baldur's Gate 3 video and build. Now, everywhere you go on the internet, you've probably seen a Tavern Brawler monk build. Okay, we've all seen it. But what if I made a Tavern Brawler monk build that uses a great sword or long sword with great weapon master, and also uses the best throwing weapon as an actual melee weapon. If that sounds cool to you, then make sure to stick around for this video. But first of all, please guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really allows me to just make more of these videos. And yeah, and if you guys do enjoy these videos, do it. It's free. So yeah, first of all, some little PSAs or warnings for say. There are two races that this build needs to have or else it won't work. So rest in peace to our half-orc lovers, which I am one. First of all, you're gonna be needing wood elf, no half elf, wood elf. Because with wood elf you get proficiency with long swords, which is definitely needed for this build. And also, I don't think drows get proficiency with swords either. I'm pretty sure. So I would recommend just taking wood elf. Also, wood elf is the best because you do get an extra 5 feet of movement, which is extremely nice. Or you can go Gift Yankee or Lae'zel, which if you're wondering why should I go with Gift Yankee, Lae'zel, aside from the Wood Elf, honestly, I think at the beginning the Lae'zel Gift Yankee build is a lot better. But towards the end, I do think they even out to the point where if you are doing this for like tactician or honor mode, I think definitely this is a really good Lae'zel build. But if you're doing this on like standard difficulty or even explorer, then honestly you don't have to make this your Lae'zel build. Or because I know some people straight up just miss Lae'zel or don't pick her up for Shadowheart Romance, which you know. But yeah, aside from that, those are the two races you should be picking. And for level 1 of Monk, well, I just completely skipped through it. Then we go back to the screen. For our, for our uh, for our stats, I don't know why it took me so long. We'll be taking 8 strength, which I know we have 21 here. I'll explain that later. 16 dexterity, which I know we have 18 later. I'll explain that later. 15 constitution, 8 intelligence, 17 wisdom, and 8 charisma. This is a really good companion build because you have a good wisdom. And honestly, on a companion, a good wisdom is really all that matters for good perception checks and also, you know, you're most likely not going to be like stun blocked by whole person or any other really powerful wisdom saving throw spells, which there are a lot of in Baldur's Gate 3. At least in my opinion, I've seen so many of them. So yeah, now for level 2, really, I think this build comes online at level 4-ish. I think this build comes online and at late to early. I know I'm not. I say late Act 1 is when this build really starts to like flourish at least. But it does come online early-ish Act 1. Really depends how you take it. But for once you've taken 4 levels of Monk, then we'll kind of be breaking down the all of the stuff we get. So now for our subclass, we'll be taking Way of the Open Hand. I know I did skip over level 2, but in level 2 you get Flurry of Blows and all that really cool stuff. I think you get Flurry of Blows and, no. You get all of your Step of the Wind Dash, Step of the Wind Disengage, and Patient Defense. You'll most likely never be using that because they take key points, and this build, you want key points. So you'll most likely never be using them, so that's kind of why I skipped over them. But again, you most likely have seen a monk build before. Monk builds are not they're not rare. Like everyone's made one. So that's just why I think this one's special because it's a little different. Now at level 4 we do get a feat, and we'll be taking Tavern Brawler. Now why take Tavern Brawler? First of all, we get a 16 Constitution, which is really nice, and also with Tavern Brawler, if you haven't already heard of it millions of times, when you make an unarmored attack, which is really what matters to us, or a thrown weapon, which also kind of matters, we can double our strength modifier. I think for the plus to hit and for the damage too. So yeah, now we did take Open Hand Monk. If I didn't say that earlier, which I think I did, better to be safe than sorry. As you can see now, our Flurry of Blows is dealing 10 plus a d6 and has a plus 10 to hit, which is really good, plus a proficiency bonus, which is really strong. Yeah, there's just, yeah, Tavern Brawler Monk is really OP, But one fun thing about Flurry Blows is you can do this before you even make a weapon attack. Now, for monks, something they do get, if they make a unarmored strike, the standard, like action version, they can then make a bonus action unarmed strike. But you do not have to do your action unarmed strike to then do Flurry of Blows. You can do Flurry of Blows first, then all of your actions, which is actually really nice for this build. One reason, because we can wield a great sword and not really care that we are wielding one. So yeah, I'll be getting to that a little later though. So first of all, for weaponry, the one reason that this build works really good for Lae'zel is because of the Silver Sword of Astral Plane. Now, if you're wondering what does this weapon do, well, let me tell you, folks. First of all, if you're a Githyanki that wields this, which Lae'zel is, you get an additional D6 psychic damage on top of whatever other stuff your sword has. Then we also get Githyanki Psionic Resistance, which is if Githyanki holding this weapon has advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, resistance to psychic damage, and cannot be charmed, which is really strong. Also, we do get Soulbreaker, which allows us to stun our targets. If I think they have to make a saving throw. Overall, this build makes the Githyanki really tanky. And you may be asking, oh, can't you only get that in Act 3? Well, you would be wrong. In Act 1, if you go up to, I think, right before the mountain pass, if you take an invisibility potion and do a disarming strike, you can actually cause Kithrak Voss to drop his Silver Sword, the Astral Plane, which is really cool. And then you can just pick it up and then do the dialogue as normal. I don't think there's any problems, or at least with Lae'zel, she won't leave you if you do this. She'll just be all like, okay, whatever, I don't mind. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why you probably want to do this build of Lae'zel, because you get a +3 weapon off the bat, and it really helps down the line with, Great Weapon Master just being really taxing. But we also do, but if you aren't taking the Githyanki, you can take Far Aloof, which if you don't know what Far Aloof does, basically you get the feature Far Aloof Melody, which if you use the Shriek version, we gain an additional D4 thunder damage and a D4 penalty to all of our enemies on all of their mental saving throws. So now, if you aren't to Githyanki, you could use Far Aloof, but if we're being honest here, ignore the D4 lightning damage and this because that goes into somewhere later for another weapon. But overall, at the beginning, using the Silver Sword, the Astral Plane is gonna be stronger. So I probably, for the beginning, I would recommend using this. If you're playing this in like honor mode or whatever, probably it's better to use this version of the build. But that's now for armor. This is all stuff you can get in Act 1. I won't be doing too many spoilers, but I will, oh, spoiler warning, I guess I did spoil the whole thing. Spoiler warning for Baldur's Gate 3, of course, for all acts. So first of all, we're going to be getting the haste, which we get pretty early into Act 1. Then the Sentient Amulet can get begun in the Grimforge. Now, mine is the evolved version, but the non-evolved version, you get an extra 2 key points in the battle, which more key points is really strong. Now for your rings, honestly, I think I would recommend taking Crusher and then the Ring of Protection, which those two are really strong rings. But honestly, I think after probably like level 5, I think the Acid Ring is the Caustic Banisher just much stronger, in my opinion, because of the amount of potential it has. Now for boots, we'll be taking the Boots of Speed, which can be on pretty early, and then the Bracers of Defense. This is kind of your beginning of Act 1 build, plus Hail Giant Strength Elixirs. Now if you don't know what these do, they increase your strength to 21, and yeah, it lasts until long rest. Now you'll be asking, oh, how do I get these? Because you're going to be needing a lot of them. Now Antiato sells them, but also a woman in the Underdark in Act 1 also sells them. And also, there are multiple ways to stack up on these. The main way I do it is by taking one of my characters to Withers, respecking them, and then every level going to the shops and just buying all their Shield Giant Elixirs. Now this does take a lot of gold, or using one of the many bag methods that allows you to get free stuff or pickpocketing, whatever method you use, you can get basically unlimited amounts of Hill Giant Strength Elixirs. By going to widgets, respecting your character, then every level, visiting all the vendors that sell Hill Giant Strength Elixirs, and just buying all of them. You can get it really quickly. I think I've gotten like 50 before in Act 1, using one of the bag methods to just get all the stuff for free. Now, this is kind of the early Act 1. Now, by the end of Act 1, this build doesn't change much, but you do get now the Graceful Cloth, which increases our dexterity by 2, increasing our armor class too, which, is nice because higher armor class means overall just better. So yeah, I think by the end of Act 1, this is probably what you're going to be wielding. If you're not doing Githyanki, forget the Sorcerer Astral Plane, you'll be taking Far Louvre, but this is mostly Les build, so we're just with that great sword. Now, we'll be taking the rest of the levels until level 8, because that's kind of when this build hits a crossroad, in my opinion. One which we'll be getting into later. So yeah, we'll just be taking on those levels until level 8. I will be explaining like the key stuff at least. But at level 8, we get an additional feat, which will be Great Weapon Master. Now, if you don't know what Great Weapon Master is, basically on any attack we make with 2 hands, we can take a -5 penalty to add +10 damage to any attack, any melee attack that is wielding with 2 hands. So for our Silver of Astral Plane, this works. Or with the Far Louvre, it also works, which in D&D 5e it doesn't, but in this version it does, which is super nice. So yeah, now may be asking, -5, that means we're going to be hitting less often. Well, yes and no, because you do get Flurry of Blows Topple at level 3, which just allows you to knock our target prone and gain advantage. So make sure before you're attacking, you make sure you knock your enemies prone and then just start beating into them. You'll be able to get advantage pretty easily every turn, and then no matter what, this build will be a lot stronger. But if you're using the Sorcerer of the Astral Plane, having a +3 or potentially a +4 later, which we'll get into, is honestly, you don't even need prone to be hitting often, but prone gives you like a higher chance to hit. So always try to make them prone before. Now, if we get into Act 2, there's actually a lot of buffs this build gets. First of one is the Evasive Shoes. Now, honestly, we do lose on a little bit of mobility, but honestly, this is a monk, and if you're doing, and also, we do get Misty Step as a Githyanki, or the extra 5 feet of movement as a Wood Elf. So, honestly, these shoes aren't needed. And overall, you can still like throw a javelin to still do a ton of damage. Now, for some other things that we'll be picking up in Act 2, well, at least like throughout most of Act 2 you'll be using this, is the Cloak of Protection, which again, an additional 1 to AC is always nice. Also, the Drake-Throat Glaive, which if you don't know what the Drake-Throat Glaive does, well, let me tell you, my friend. The Drake-Throat Glaive has an effect called Elemental Weapon. Basically, we can add a +1 to our attack rolls to hit and I think to damage, and an additional D4 of elemental damage. Now, this can be used on any weapon. You may be asking, how does this work? Well, my viewer, all we have to do is drop our weapon of choice, use the ability, and then just click on our weapon, and then boom, it will get the benefit. Now, I already did this because this is like my 5th time recording this video, which does suck, man. So yeah, I did it off our Louvre and my other takes. And as you can see, an additional +1 to hit and an extra D4 lightning damage. So yeah, it does work on any weapon, or the easier version, if you equip the Drake-Throat Glaive and then go to one of your allies, if you equip the Drake-Throat Glaive on one of your other companions and then have them cast it on the character which you want to benefit from, the weapon they have currently equipped, sort of like in their idle animation while they're standing idle, this weapon on their back will be the one that gets the benefit. So, yeah. Now, this does make your Silver Sword the Astral Plane a +4 weapon to hit, which, make sure to take a sip of water, because water is very important. Yeah, it makes a +4 weapon, which is just really strong, because now it's only a -1 with your Great Weapon Master. Yeah, it's pretty good. Or makes your Baldur a +2 weapon, which now makes it even easier for your character to hit. Now, this is most likely the gear you'll be. Oh, one more piece of gear you'll be getting from Damon. So yeah, make sure to be a good character with this build. The Flawed Helda's gloves. From Act 2, from the boy Damon, you can get these gloves, which deals are unarmored and weapon attacks an additional D4 of damage. Now, little asterisk, this will decrease your armor class. And I made the same exact build, but with the Widow version. And honestly, I used the Flawed Helda's gloves and the +2 to armor class. I didn't miss it. I much more preferred the damage. Now, some people may be like, oh, I prefer the armor class. If you do prefer the armor class, then add it. Honestly, in my opinion, I feel like it's a little much because 22 armor class, nothing's gonna be able to hit you with like a 20, if we're being honest. Like, at least if you don't have the proficiency bonus all the way cranked up, at least, but we're not accounting for that. But overall, I feel like it's kind of just wasteful. And honestly, an extra D4 on both your swords and unarmed strikes really help out with damage, and overall just bumps up this build's damage by a ton. So yeah, in my opinion, I think it's probably better to use it. Again, you can decide to not do it. Eh, it really depends if you prefer the armor class increase or the damage increase. So yeah, now, here comes something with this build. Now, you could take 6 levels of Monk and then take 4 levels of Rogue. So honestly, what I recommend is, I think you take 8 levels. I think you take, honestly, in my opinion, I think you take 8 levels of Monk, and then once you reach 9th level, respec into getting 6 levels of Monk, then 3 levels of Rogue. And then at 10th level, take that 4th level of Rogue to get an extra feat, which actually I'll be representing right here. So once you reach level 9, honestly, I probably would recommend just respecting, as I said, which I will be showing off here. So yeah. Level 2, we do get all that good stuff, which I already go through. I won't be going through it again. With the open hand, said at level 4, again, we'll be taking Tavern Brawler, because Tavern Brawler is way more pointed Great Weapon Master for this build, at least in my opinion. Then, boom. Level 6, we get an extra Manifestation of Soul, Body and Mind, which is an extra amount of damage with our unarmed strikes. And now, we'll be taking 3 Rogue levels, which honestly, for these proficiencies, pick whichever you like. At level 2, we get our Cunning Action, Dash, Hide, and Disengage, which is really nice. Now, level 3, we get the Thief subclass, which gives us an additional bonus action. So now, by level 9, we don't have Great Weapon Master anymore, which does suck, but is made up for the fact that now we do have an additional bonus action, granting us an additional use of Flurry of Blows, which can deal 54 damage, as you see on the screen, which is pretty insane, and does make up for the fact we don't have Great Weapon Master. But do not worry, because as soon as we hit level 10, we can get our 4th level of Rogue and take Great Weapon Master. Honestly, this is what I would recommend doing. This is the best version of this build in my opinion. And overall, 10th level, I usually hit 10th level like really early into Act 3, so, or sometimes even Act 2, but like that's when I go more chaotic, just kill everything else. XP is the most important. But now, we'll be taking this build all the way to level 12, and then I'll be showing you the finalized version. So now, for the next 2 levels, you can take one of 2 things. You could take 8 levels of Monk to get Resilient Wisdom, but that's only if you're doing the Lae'zel version of this build. If you're not, if you're doing the Wood Elf version, honestly, I'd recommend taking 2 levels of Fighter. First off, because we get martial weapon proficiencies, and it allows us to use the best weapon for this build. Now, we do get a fighting style here. Honestly, take more weapon fighting, I guess, because you don't really get any benefits out of the other ones. So, 3 weapon fighting, yay. But on level 2 we do get Action Surge, which Action Surge is, well, it's Action Surge. Let's not beat around the bush. Action Surge is Action Surge. So the reason why I would recommend this version of the build for non-Githyanki characters is because we can use this trident, which this trident can get really early into Act 3, the beginning of Act 3 actually. And if you guys don't know what this trident does, it has so much really good stuff. Now, first of all, this can be thrown, which honestly, we won't be abusing the thrown version of this weapon too much in this build, but if you want to, you can. But first of all, it gets really good features, such as the, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Basically, this object shines with a glowing light in a radius of 20 feet, which there is a certain ring that allows us to get an additional 2 radiant damage if we have something that's like glowing. So now, I don't actually have the ring right here, but there is a ring which you can get in Act 2, I think late Act 2 though, that if a character is illuminated, they take an extra 2 radiant damage, I think with any damage source. Cause yeah, I think so. I think I probably removed the caustic ban for that ring because you will be getting more damage. But also, this is a +3 weapon, which if you've been doing a half-health version of this build, you've been using Farluv for the whole game. So now, it is now officially a +3 weapon, +4 if you're using good old Drake Throw Glaive. And overall, it's just, yeah, it's really good. Because it's now a +3 weapon. Also, we get an additional 10 speed of movement to our jump and, like, standard movement, which is really good. And we have immunity to fall damage, which is overall super nice. And this thing, it is a little weaker. It is and we do go from a D8 for Farluv to a D10 from Farluv to D8. But we do get an additional thunder damage, so it does even out. It actually makes it better. But we also get something that's really cool, which is Zephyr Break and Zephyr Flash. These two features are just overall really powerful. They do a crap ton of thunder damage, as you guys can see. So, and also thunder damage isn't commonly resisted, so it is really good. And overall, yeah, it's just these two abilities are super strong, and they both come back on a short rest, which this build is going to be taking a lot of short rests. So overall, if you're taking the Widow version, I highly recommend taking the Nuralua. What I think I butchered it, but whatever. But yeah, that's kind of the weapon for Act 2. For Act 3, this is going to be your weapon for the rest of the game. If you're not a Githyanki, but if you're a Githyanki, stick to good old Sorcery Astral Plane. It does do more damage, but overall, the effects are semi-equal. If you want to, you could play a Githyanki that wields the trident, but overall, I think just wielding the Silver Sword, the Astral Plane, is probably just the best idea, in my opinion. But again, it's up to you. Now for gear, we'll be getting the best of Soul Rejuvenation. Oh god! The Soul of Rejuvenation. Basically, whenever the wearer succeeds on a saving throw against a spell, we get an additional D4 hit points, and also we get a +2 to armor class, which we are no longer wearing the dexterity, the graceful cloth, which does suck a little, but I mean, we don't really need it. But now we do get an additional +2 to dexterity, so armor class is actually higher now. And also we get Great Gashigo counter. The wearer can use a reaction to make an unarmed strike against any attacker that misses, which with a 21 armor class will be pretty often. And now also, once we beat that House of Hope, we do now get the Hell Dust Gloves, which basically gives us an additional D6 instead of a D4, and also Ray of Fire, which I think is just Scorching Ray, but like stronger, or a cantrip, so it's unlimited. So that's a really good, actually, ranged option too. Yeah, I don't know why it's blinked out. That's weird, but yeah, whatever. This is really late game, so you know, just take these. Also, I don't think Damon sells some gloves that it gives a +2 to damage rolls. So if you want to, you could use those. But honestly, I just stick with the Flaw Helldust until you can get the real Helldust stuff. Then for our helmet, the Horns of Berserker can be gotten into early Act 2, and overall it's really strong. Basically gives us an extra 2 necrotic damage if we don't have our full health, which, you know, we do have 101 health in this build if you take the fighter levels. So, and if we don't have full health, Or no, it's if we don't do any damage this turn, we do take an extra d4 necrotic damage. But in reality, that doesn't matter because if using this weapon, if you're using this weapon, you can throw it and give some additional damage. So it doesn't really matter. Now for cape, also our cape case is the same. Now for boots, we switch out the invasive shoes with the boots of unlimited Kashigo. Basically, these boots allows us to add a +3, which is our wisdom modifier to our unarmed strikes, making them just even more powerful. Because, why not? And also, by Act 3, you can consistently get Cloud Giant Strength Elixirs, which are harder to get, but you can still get a lot of them. So yeah, by the end of Act 3, if you are making the Gif Yankee version of this build, this is how you're going to look like. But if you're the half elf, this is how it's going to look like. Does not real much of a change. It's kind of like change of what weapon you use. But overall, this build is extremely powerful. And actually a different, change of pace when it comes to mucks. As you can see, our Flurry of Blows is really, it does a lot of damage. And we do have now Action Surge and also Sneak Attack, which we can't use. Because wait, this is a finesse. Wait, is this? No, we can't. Okay. Well, if when you're using Falara Move is a finesse weapon, so we could get some sneak attack damage with it. But in reality, that doesn't matter. Sneak attacks will like it's 2d6, which I guess if you are using a bow for some reason, you can get that sneak attack damage, but whatever. So yeah, this is my first ever Baldur's Gate 3 video. Overall, looking at the damage numbers here, you guys can just tell this build is going to be doing a ton of damage. Oh, okay. I'm sorry if the camera got weird at the end. But yeah, that's all for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, that's it from your boy, Ulti19, signing out. Peace.